What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. And today is Wednesday or after Wednesday. So you already know what that means. It is time for my updated 2023 NFL mock draft after 15 weeks of the NFL season. Now, yes, this is a 2-round mock draft. So a couple things. One, I won't be going into depth on the picks as I usually do. I just kind of want to, just for everyone's sake, for the viewers' sake, for my sake, just kind of roll through the picks. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you let me know, and we could always discuss my thought process behind the pick. Why did you make this pick? If I didn't explain it or you didn't really get my explanation through what I said. Also, this is probably my second to last weekly mock draft I will be doing at the time of recording. This will be coming out on Wednesday, the 21st of December, and then the last one that I'll do after 16 weeks of the NFL season will be coming out Wednesday, December 28th. So after the new year, I'm going to take maybe a little break, maybe a week break, maybe not upload, and then I'm going to start doing my 7-round team mock draft. So by that point, we basically have a good understanding after 16, maybe by that time it'll be after 17 weeks. We have a good understanding of what the draft order is going to look like. So obviously, Houston's been the number one pick for the last 8 or 9 weeks. So I don't really see any way that they don't have the number one overall pick. So I will start in order. I will be doing the teams in order of, first round pick, second round pick, all that kind of stuff. I'll be doing it if Houston has the number one overall pick. Houston goes first. Chicago goes second. That's how I'm going to do it up until eventually all 32 teams in the NFL are done. I did that last year. It was super successful. I'm hoping it'll be twice as successful this year. So without further ado, I think I've talked your ear off enough. I'm sure you want to get to these picks. Let's get into it. So number one overall, Bryce Young. Don't really have to talk too much about that. Houston obviously is in desperate need of a quarterback. Then number two, Chicago really has their pick between the two best players in the draft, in my opinion. I would love Will Anderson Jr. to Chicago here, but Jalen Carter is my favorite prospect in the entire draft. Not only in the entire draft, but one of the best and one of my favorite prospects I've ever looked at in general or ever studied on film. So I'm going to go with Jalen Carter at number two. 3 tech is a massive need for the Chicago Bears, maybe even more so than edge. So I'm going to go with 3 tech there. Then subsequently, as a result of number 2 being Jalen Carter, number 3 will be Will Anderson Jr. Fits that 3-4 defense that Seattle runs absolutely perfectly. Then we're going to number 4. I would love to take a cornerback here, but I feel like 4 is way too early for either Keely Ringo or Joey Porter Jr. So I'm going to go Miles Murphy. I think adding another edge piece on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson would be absolutely beneficial in the long run for the Detroit Lions, who are 7-7 on the cusp of the playoff run right now and still have a top 5 pick. So things are looking very, very bright over there in Detroit right now. And then at number 5 overall, on the flip side, you have the Arizona Cardinals, who the future is not looking so great. A lot of different ways you can go here. You can go cornerback, you can go tackle, maybe. I feel like number 5 overall is kind of too high in this draft to be taking a tackle. And you can also go edge, and that's actually where I'm going to go. I think I'm a lot higher on Tyree Wilson than a lot of people are. I think it's a very, very strong chance that he goes inside the top 5, especially if the Eagles somehow end up back towards the top 5. A couple other teams that could use an edge rusher or a versatile piece. Atlanta, maybe if the quarterbacks don't fall the way Carolina like, maybe Carolina as well on the opposite side of Brian Burns. A lot of different teams that could take him inside the top 10. But I think Arizona would be beneficial. Really, as someone so lovingly commented last week, you could throw a dart at the team needs and just basically pick off of that, which is pretty funny because Arizona does have a lot of team needs. I'm going to go with Tyree Wilson here at number 5. Then at number 6, Indianapolis, kind of the same boat as the Houston Texans. I'm definitely going with quarterback here. A lot of people still think it's Will Levis. A lot of people want it to be Anthony Richardson. I'm still going to go with CJ Stroud here with this one. Don't worry, I have a very interesting landing spot in mind for Anthony Richardson. You'll see pretty shortly. Then moving on to number 7, that's the Atlanta Falcons. Another team. You can go a lot of different ways. I'm not in love with the edge rushers that are still left here. A lot of edge rushers are first-round picks. I don't know if there's another top 10 worthy edge rusher in this class as of right now from what we know. Brian Bresee is an interesting pick here. I don't really think he solves their defensive line issues. I'm going to go with a cornerback here. I'm going to go with Joey Porter Jr. I know it's not a massive need for the Atlanta Falcons, but their secondary has been pretty disappointing this year. Even their top guys, AJ Terrell, has been a little bit disappointing. He's still a great player, don't get me wrong, but he's been a little disappointing and underwhelming this year. And, Rashad Fenton is also a free agent. I'm sure that they can upgrade on everyone else that's in that secondary. And I think Joey Porter Jr. lands in a pretty sweet spot in Atlanta. Then you have the Carolina Panthers here at number 8. I'm still going with Will Levis here. Listen, don't shoot the messenger. I know I'm not a big fan of Will Levis either. I'm just following what I hear, and I hear that the Carolina Panthers love Will Levis. Is it a smokescreen? Sure, probably could be at this point. You never know. It's so early, but I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to say Will Levis is the pick here. Then at number 9, I'm going with Bijan Robinson. I know it might sound crazy with all the players that are left here, and picking a running back inside the top 10 is crazy, but I just feel like Philly is playing with house money right now. They have one of, if not the best overall rosters from top to bottom in the NFL. And I feel like with this pick, they're definitely picking at a surplus. So why not take an offensive weapon like Bijan Robinson? Miles Sanders has been amazing this year, but he could have priced his way out of Philly. There's not a lot of teams that are willing to pay running backs anymore. So if they can get Bijan Robinson here and let Miles Sanders go, and I think Boston Scott go as well, and have Kenneth Gainwell and Bijan Robinson in the backfield, that is just extremely, extremely scary. Moving on to number 10, you have the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going with offensive line. Like many other picks, there's a lot of different ways that you can go here, but they're just so desperate for offensive line now. But I'm going Paris Johnson Jr. I think Peter Skoronski better suits the guard position in the NFL. So I'm going with a true tackle here, and I think the best true tackle in this class is Paris Johnson Jr. It was Olaf Ashanu, but he went back to Penn State. So I'm going with Paris Johnson Jr. here. Then Jacksonville, it's so tempting with with Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison still left on the board. To go with those guys or a wide receiver, but I'm going to go with Keely Ringo. And I think that Jacksonville has thrown a lot of money over the last few years at that cornerback position, and their best cornerback is Tyson Campbell, someone that they drafted, not even someone that they paid. So I think Shaquille Griffin has been very disappointing up until this point. They can cut him and save some money and replace him with Keely Ringo, a cheaper option. Could even be a better option at this point. I think it's a good fit. Then Houston, subsequently, you got to go with Quentin Johnston here. I know that, John Mechie's coming back. Nico Collins is a nice piece. You need that number one guy. I think Quentin Johnston can step right into being the number one guy. Brandon Cooks is as good as gone at this point. I don't think that he's going to stay. I think he's going to request a trade or get cut, one or the other. I think Quentin Johnston is a money piece here for Houston. Then Pittsburgh, I'm going Peter Skoronski. I mean, they desperately need offensive line help. I think it should be as quick and easy as that. Then you got the Green Bay Packers, another team. You can go a couple different ways here. Michael Mayer is an intriguing option here. Then Robert Tonyan has been this year. Jordan Addison is an interesting option as well. But I'm going to go with Broderick Jones. I think that they really do need to address the offensive line. I didn't really see it until the last few weeks. And I think if Aaron Rodgers, regardless of who's going to be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, and this year and beyond, you need to protect him. So they need some offensive line help desperately. Seattle with their second first-round pick. I'm going with Trenton Simpson. These are the two picks that I made the last couple of weeks. Obviously, besides for Jordan Brooks, it's pretty slim pickings in the linebacker department for the Seattle Seahawks. I think Trenton Simpson is a absolutely fantastic athlete, and I think this would be a really great addition to that young but improving Seattle Seahawks defense. And then you have the New England Patriots with Jordan Addison still on the board. It just makes too much sense. They need a wide receiver. Maybe they need a quarterback. Who knows? But I think Jordan Addison lands in a really great situation in New England. Could automatically step in and be the number one option for them. Then you got my New York Jets at number 17. I'm still going Dawad Jones. I know that he's someone that maybe not a lot of people know about right now. Plays at Ohio State. Maybe projected better as a day 2 pick, but I think with his intangibles and his size, he might not be ready to step into left tackle position right away, but the Jets need help at both tackle positions. I don't really think it matters. 6'8", 359 pounds. Joe Douglas loves his big boys, and that's what he gets at Dawad Jones. Then you have the Detroit Lions with their second first-round pick, and I'm going with Christian Gonzalez. As simple as that, Jeff Okudah has slowly but surely proven his worth as a first-round pick. It's time to add someone on the opposite side of him that could be just as good, and I think Christian Gonzalez could be just as good, maybe if not better. Then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need some secondary help. I'm going Cam Smith. This is a pick that I've made a few times before, definitely. Tennessee, I'm going with Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's still on the board. I know they spent a first-round pick last year on Treylon Burks, but he's been good when he's on the field and he actually gets the ball, but that's the problem. I mean, you could go offensive line here. I was thinking of Osiris Torrance was a nice pick here. Maybe even Jalen Duncan was a nice pick, or Anton Harrison, but I mean, their passing offense is just is upsetting sometimes. I'm going with Jackson Smith-Njigba there. Washington, I'm going Devin Witherspoon. Cornerback is going to be a massive position of need in this offseason. I think Devin Witherspoon has the size, has the speed, and has all the things that you would like for a boundary cornerback in the NFL. So I'm going Devin Witherspoon, maybe a little high for some people, but I like it there. And then you have the Chargers here. Michael Mayer is an interesting pick. I made that pick before. I think someone called Donald Parham Chicken Parm, and I thought that was like the greatest nickname ever. It's not inspiring options, especially with Gerald Everett being a free agent after this year. But I'm going Brian Bresee here. I think that I know that people are going to argue, oh, well, they signed Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day. I don't really think that matters. I think that they need more help on the interior. And Brian Bresee, at this point, I picked number 22, and he was supposed to be a top 10 pick for quite some time. I think you just kind of – I don't even think it's a gamble. I think it's a great pick because it fits a need, and also you could get that top 10 potential out of him this late in the first round. So I'm going Brian Bresee here. At number 23, going New York Giants, a new face in my mock drafts here. I'm going Drew Sanders. He's really, really been an interesting pick for me the last couple weeks. I've been mulling over thinking about sneaking him into the first round, but I think that with the wide receivers that are left on the board, I think that the Giants could get a wide receiver of any of these guys' calibers in the second round. I think linebacker is a huge position of need. This guy brings it all. I mean, he's a tackling machine. I think he had 103 tackles at Arkansas. He had 9.5 sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss. The guy is an absolute beast, and I think that he'd be perfect for the New York Giants. Then you have the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going Isaiah Foskey, a perfect 3-4 defensive end, 6'5", 270, 275 pounds, I guess, depending on the day. He's a beast, and he definitely can produce as well, which is what you'd love to see. Going Isaiah Foskey there. Then Denver at number 25. I'm going to go Anton Harrison, another new face in my mock draft. Really, it's between Anton Harrison and Jalen Duncan. And I think Harrison is a little bit more polished than Jalen Duncan. And that's just me. And it's similar size, 6'5", 315 for Harrison, 6'6", 320 for Jalen Duncan. I think Anton Harrison has that versatility where he could translate to being a guard as well at the NFL. So I love line versatility in these drafts. I'm going Anton Harrison there. Then Dallas at number 26, and I'm going to go with Emmanuel Forbes. I still think that they need some help on the opposite side of Trayvon Diggs, especially with the free agent. Anthony Brown is going to be a free agent this year. I'm going with Emmanuel Forbes here. And then Cincinnati at number 27. Michael Mayer still on the board. Match made in heaven for me. I'm going Michael Mayer. Pretty straightforward, pretty standard. Kansas City, edge rushing help. I'm going to bypass Jared Verse. I'm going to bypass B.J. Ojolari. A lot of guys that I love here at the back end of the first round that could all wind up being fringe first-round picks. I'm still going with my man King Felix. I know that he's got a long way to go in terms of being a complete edge rusher, but, man, you can't argue with talent and physique and just physical attributes. The dude is just an absolute beast, and I think he's going to be a great addition to any defense at the NFL level. So going King Felix there. Minnesota. I'll probably catch some heat for this. I'm going Anthony Richardson. I've been trying to put Anthony Richardson in places where I think he's going to succeed. And I think Minnesota is a very underrated option. The reason why listen, this is not a knock against Kirk Cousins. Kirk O'Chains is balling, let me tell you. But is he really the long-term future in Minnesota? Well, I don't know. People might say yes, but at the same time, they keep giving him 1-year extensions. So maybe they're just looking for that guy. Kirk Cousins is under contract next year. I think you stash Richardson and you don't touch it. You let Kirk run the team, especially. I think this pick really hinders on how well the Minnesota Vikings do in the postseason. If they're one and done, then I think that this is more likely than anything. But you stash Richardson away, you let him learn. Kirk is a great guy to learn from. I mean, he's a very successful NFL quarterback. I don't think this pick is as far-fetched as a lot of people think. You could hate me for it, whatever, but at the end of the day, this is my mock draft. So, do your own. Moving on to number 30, you have the Buffalo Bills here. And I love Jahmyr Gibbs here as well. I like O'Cyrus Torrence. A lot of guys that, the offensive line of the Bills really isn't as great as a lot of people think. I'm going Brian Branch, though. With the free agents that they have in the secondary, Jordan Poyer is a free agent, not to mention he's on the wrong side of 30. Same thing with Micah Hyde as well. Also coming off of a season-ending injury. I think it's time you get some youth in that in the safety department there. I'm going Brian Branch. I think he's the best safety in the entire draft. Then Philly with the last pick of the first round. I know it says round 1, pick 32. We all know there's only 31 picks. And after getting the offensive weapon with the number 9 overall pick, I'm going with the edge help here. Jared Verse makes a ton of sense there. Just a perfect fit. I mean, it couldn't have fallen any better, honestly, for the Philadelphia Eagles with those first 2 picks, at least in my mind. Then at number 32, I'm going O'Cyrus Torrence. I think that if you get a franchise quarterback, first things first, you get him a weapon with that next pick. You have to protect him. Besides for Laramie Tunsil, I mean, Kenyon Green has been a bit of a disappointment this year, but it also does take off. Unless you're the elite of the elite, it takes you a year or two to really transition to being an NFL offensive lineman. Look at Andrew Thomas. He was a bust after his first year. Now he's one of the best left tackles in the NFL. So just give him some time. If they could add more talent to this offensive line, you got to protect your number 1 asset, and that would be Bryce Young at that point. So I'm going O'Cyrus Torrence with that pick. Then at number 33, which, so it's a little confusing, but this would be the second pick in the first round. This would be the Chicago Bears pick, but they traded it inexplicably to the Pittsburgh Steelers for Chase Claypool. So with this pick here, I'm going Clark Phillips. They definitely need some secondary help. I know Clark Phillips better translates to being a slot corner, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have some small cornerbacks playing boundary right now, and Clark Phillips does have some boundary appeal. So I don't think it's out of the realm possibility at 5'10", 185 that he could play boundary. I'm pretty sure Arthur Mollett is the exact same size, and I think he does play, correct me if I'm wrong, he does play boundary for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going Clark Phillips with that pick. Then the Los Angeles Rams finally have a pick inside the first 2 rounds in like 25 years. I'm going with, listen, I know that offensive line is a massive need for this team. But don't forget, they have some big injuries. Logan Bruss didn't even get to play. So that's basically like having a rookie offensive lineman for you right there. David Edwards is going to be back as well. Their offensive line isn't going to be fantastic, but it's not going to be as bad as it is. I think they can hold off until the next round. So I'm going with Nolan Smith here. I know that Nolan Smith has kind of fallen off just because he was injured. But Nolan Smith was an absolute baller, and maybe the sack numbers didn't show it, but just purely as an outside linebacker, as a rush linebacker, he was awesome. He was always in the backfield making plays. He's always getting quarterback pressures, tackle for loss. I think that this is a much-needed juice injection for this LA Rams defense that has been pretty disappointing this year. Then you have the Arizona Cardinals yet again, and I'm going with Jalen Duncan. I think the first 2 picks need to be trench picks here. You need an edge rusher. I mean, it's interchangeable, whichever way you want to do it, but the offensive line is in absolute shambles. They really, really need an overhaul completely of that offensive line. I think Jalen Duncan would be a fine piece to start with. And then you have Tyree Wilson and Jalen Duncan. Those 2 really nice picks back-to-back right there. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks, who seemingly will continue to win the draft here. I'm going Javon Dexter. Javon Dexter, 6'4", 6'5", something like that, 312 pounds. Could really stay in the middle of that defense there in the 3-4. I think he could play nose tackle at the next level. I think that would be a great addition for that Seattle defense. I know 3 straight picks on defense, but I think Seattle needs it because their defense was playing very, very well for a while, but playing better than expected. And also, they give up the second most running yards in the NFL. So plugging in a huge body like that would make a big difference. Then you have the Indianapolis Colts, fresh off of getting their new franchise quarterback. I'm going to add another offensive lineman. I want to add a wide receiver here, but I'm not in love with what we have here. I know that they really need a burner opposite Michael Pittman, but I just don't know how well Jalen Hyatt's game will translate to the NFL, especially in this type of offense. And then Josh Downs, they already have what Josh Downs brings in Alec Pierce. I think Josh Downs is better, but I wouldn't draft another mid-round wide receiver to do exactly what Alec Pierce has done this year. So I'm going to go with Andrew Voorhees, a guard that I was very, very fond of last year, who was coming out of the draft for quite some time and then decided to go back. And I think he definitely improved his draft stock. I think that would be a really, really nice addition to the interior of that offensive line. And you got Carolina, again, need some edge help on the opposite of Brian Burns. I'm going B.J. Ojulari here, if I could find him. B.J. Ojulari right here, just a great pick there, if I do say so myself. And then you have the New Orleans Saints. Now, this was probably the one pick in like this entire 2-round draft that I was really, really having some trouble with. I didn't really know where exactly I wanted to go with this pick. I did offensive line. They don't need an offensive lineman. Wide receiver, maybe. I can't really see them spending another high draft pick right now on another wide receiver. Especially, we don't really know the fate of Michael Thomas, so I'm going to wait and hold off on that. I had to go edge. I know that they've invested so much money and so much, draft capital on the edge department the last few years. Even 2 years ago, they drafted Peyton Turner. He is looking to be a real big bust right now. And then Marcus Davenport wasn't what they thought. They traded another first-round pick to trade up to get him. And he's also a free agent this year. You could go in defensive line. You could go D-tackle here. I'm going to go with edge. I'm going to go with Andre Carter. 6'7", 270 pounds. Would be just a freak on the outside of a 4-3 defense like the New Orleans Saints run. On the opposite of Cam Jordan, I know he's getting older, but he's still great at what he does. And that would take some pressure off of Cam Jordan, and that would also free up some maybe one-on-one situations for Andre Carter. I think it's not as crazy as a pick as some people might think, but Andre Carter also will be eligible to play right away due to some kind of bill that the government passed. I don't know. Congratulations. Good for you, dude. Now, with the Atlanta Falcons here, another interesting pick. They don't necessarily need a nose tackle, but they need some D-line help. And with this one, I'm going my man Lucas Van Ness. I think that this is a guy who was low there, obviously, on the defensive line chart, as you saw, but a guy that's getting a ton of, even some people have him going in the first round. I think Van Ness, 6'5", 259 pounds, can really, really add some juice to that Atlanta Falcons defensive line that definitely needs some help. Then you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to start kind of rolling through these picks a little bit faster. Then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interior, the offensive line, I think, needs some help. You got to protect your number one asset, which is Trevor Lawrence. I'm going John Michael Schmitz here. Then you have the Cleveland Browns with their first pick. I think they definitely need some safety help. And you get Antonio Johnson off the board. Brings a lot of versatility. He could play cornerback as well. He's good. He's a safety as well. I mean, he is a phenomenal athlete as well. I think that he kind of fell off this year. He went into the year with really high draft expectations, and he had a disappointing season, kind of fell off. I think the Combine will rise his stock yet again. Then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at number 43, and I'm going Noah Sewell. I don't know if people will like this pick or not. I think Devin Bush has been a pretty big disappointment. I don't know if he will be re-signed. Even if he is, I still think they need some interior linebacker help. So I'm going Noah Sewell, really a big downhill run-stuffing linebacker. It just screams Pittsburgh Steelers to me. Then you have Green Bay Packers here at pick number 44. And I'm going with Josh Downs with this one. I think this is a perfect Randall Cobb replacement for the Green Bay Packers. Then you have the Vegas Raiders. Yet again, there's a ton of free agents that they have in the secondary. And with the money situation that the Raiders are in, I don't think that they could afford to really replace any of those guys. So I'm going with Garrett Williams, a guy that you guys haven't really heard me talk about in quite some time. He used to be. I think I had him as high as 11 in one of my early mock drafts. But a guy who got hurt, Didn't really get to showcase his skills and kind of got lost in the shuffle, but that's a fine pick in round 2. Then you have the New England Patriots, and another team I'm having trouble finding some holes. I think tackle is one of the bigger needs that they have, honestly. I like Cody Marsh here. Another guy, especially if you guys watch Bengal, he had him in one of his mock drafts as a first rounder. You got to show him some love. The dude is a baller, and I feel like picks from North Dakota State the last few years have actually panned out pretty well. But I like Cody Marsh here as a small school prospect that Bill Belichick loves to turn into superstars. So I'm going with that pick there. Then you have my New York Jets yet again at pick number 47. I need a safety here. LaMarcus Joyner has been pretty awful this whole year. Jordan Whitehead has had his moments. He's been pretty good. I'm going with Jordan Battle. This is a guy who I had the Jets drafting last year in the second round, or even with, I think maybe their first round. I don't remember what it was. Don't quote. Maybe it was the first round pick. Early on I had him, but he elected to go back to school. His stock maybe fell a little bit, but he's still a pretty high pick here. I think that would solve exactly what the Jets need in the secondary, which isn't much, but they definitely need some safety help there. Then you have the Detroit Lions yet again with their third pick in the first 48. And I'm going with Henry To'oTo'o. They need some linebacking help here. And Henry To'oTo'o or Tuototo. I always say his name wrong. Someone's probably going to go, oh, why are you doing these mock drafts if you don't even know how to say their name? Listen, if you're a fan of this channel for a long time, I butcher everyone's name. It's just how it works here. As an Italian New Yorker, it's just how it works. You butcher everyone's name. So I'm going with him. How about that? Moving on to number 49, you have the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going Jalen Hyatt. I think that really outside of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, there's not much wide receiver production at all. And this is a long-term replacement for Tyler Lockett. This is a smaller guy that's really speedy that could beat you downfield on the deep balls, and that's kind of what Tyler Lockett is. I mean, you got to put a little bit more respect on Tyler Lockett's name. He's much more than that, but he is getting older, and I think it's time to get another option in that passing offense. I think that, imagine Geno Smith throwing deep balls to Jalen Hyatt. That is a sentence that I never thought I would say, but here we are. Moving on to pick number 50, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need some edge help. There's a ton of free agents that they're not going to be able to retain because they don't have much money. I'm going Zach Harrison here. This is a guy that really fits a 3-4 defensive end quite well, and I think that he would be a great addition to that front seven that they got there. Then you have Tennessee. You need to address the offensive line. They need some interior help. They need some tackle help. I'm going Cooper Beebe, and the reason why is another guy that I had in my first round not that long ago. The versatility is big for me here, and this is a team that loves to run the football. Derrick Henry is still first and foremost, and he is their number one option in the run game. You need to add as many bodies as possible. A versatile body like Cooper Beebe, 6'4", 322 pounds. That's a guy that I want there, definitely. Then you have the Washington Commanders here, and this is when Hendon Hooker comes off the board for me, if you guys were wondering. This is it for me. I don't think that he was ever really going to be a first-round pick, but I feel like this is a really good landing spot for him. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, let's see what Sam Howell has. Okay, we could see that. Imagine getting one of the best quarterbacks in college football in the second round. I know he's a little bit older. He just turned 25, but I feel like if he's given a chance in a good offense with good weapons, I mean, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Diami Brown, Curtis Samuel, they got some weapons. I think that it could be a lot of fun potentially. I'm going to go Hendon Hooker here. Then Miami. This is where Jahmyr Gibbs comes off the board. This is amazing. Raheem Mostert is a free agent. I'm pretty sure Salvin Ahmed is a free agent. Jeff Wilson is a free agent. Everyone is a free agent. You get a free agent. You get a free agent. We all get free agents. Jahmyr Gibbs would end the discussion as who leads the backfield for the Miami Dolphins. That is, imagine adding another weapon like that. Oh my God. You have the Chargers here at pick number 54. I'm running out of breath. This is crazy. Pick number 54, I'm going Darnell Washington. I know I talked about the tight end before. You get the defensive tackle help that you need, and you get another weapon like Darnell Washington, who's 6'7", 260 pounds, for Justin Herbert. I love it. Then you have the Giants here. I'm going Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is a beautiful weapon on the outside, pardon me, which is exactly what the New York Giants need. 6'3", 203 pounds. He put up a monster numbers. He is a guy that you could put everywhere, in the slot, on the boundary. You could throw him some quick passes, kind of like what a Kadarius Toney was supposed to be. I feel like he's very, very dangerous in the open field, and that's something that this Giants offense needs. I'm going Rashee Rice here at number 55. You have the Chicago Bears at number 56. Kind of the same thing. They got Chase Claypool to play on the boundary. I feel like they still need someone on the opposite of Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney, and that's Cedric Tillman for me. I know a lot of these Tennessee guys come with a grain of salt because the offense that they run is pretty much catered to the strengths of every player, which honestly should be how every offense is run. Let's call a spade a spade. But Cedric Tillman, 6'3", 215 pounds, another great boundary option for Justin Fields, who keeps proving week in and week out that he definitely is the guy for the Chicago Bears. Then moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, maybe an unpopular pick, but I like it. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to really need some linebacker help. Leighton Vander Esch, when he's healthy, is good, but he's constantly getting injured, it feels like, lately. And he's also a free agent after this, and I think that they need to replace him ASAP. And I'm going with Jack Campbell, another guy who I think is going to get a lot of love in the pre-draft process, and his stock is going to rise. Keep the name Jack Campbell on your mind. He's good. Then moving on to number 58, you have the Cincinnati Bengals, who need some boundary cornerback help. And I love Jalen Jones. Jalen Jones is probably one of the freakiest athletes. He reminds me of Tariq Woolen, where his athletic ability is just bursting off the page. And you're thinking to yourself, well, he's got all the intangibles. Can he put it together? I mean, recency bias is a thing. Tariq Woolen has put it all together. And he was a 5th-round pick and a former wide receiver and a 6'4", 200-pound guy that ran like a sub 4.3. And he's a freak athlete. I think that Cincinnati would benefit from taking someone like Jalen Jones, who didn't have the greatest year, but his intangibles and his ability will get him drafted higher than maybe his production says he should be drafted. And then Carolina has a very, very sneakily good draft here. I'm going with Zach Evans. Another guy, do-it-all running back. Christian McCaffrey is gone. Deonta Foreman has been pretty okay. Chuba Hubbard hasn't been that great, ever since Christian McCaffrey left. I think that they need a true number one back in Zach Evans. Then you have Detroit again, and I'm going with a tight end. I'm going Dalton Kincaid. This is one of my favorite tight ends from last year, who, again, opted to go back to school and pretty much raised his draft stock. I believe he was a 4th or 5th round pick last year. He's definitely going to be a high draft pick this year. I think that Detroit needs a tight end after trading TJ Hawkinson. Kincaid is an interesting player here. This next pick, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I don't even know why I made this pick, but I mean, I do, but I don't at the same time. Does Kansas City need another wide receiver? Probably not, especially after drafting Sky Moore last year. But listen, just hear me out. Zay Flowers can do what Mecole Hardman does, but probably 2 or 3 times better. So why not give Patrick Mahomes another weapon like that? Then you got the Then you got the Buffalo Bills at pick number 62, and I'm going Zach Charbonnet. That's even how you say it. I think it's Charbonnet, but however you want to say it, that's how you want to say it. Amazing season for UCLA. I think he averaged like 7 yards a carry. Another guy who can do it all. He can catch out of the backfield as well. And that proves completely beneficial for a quarterback like Josh Allen because you rely so heavily on his arm. Getting someone like Charbonnet that could, run between the tackles, who could go out for a screen pass, who could just do it all. He basically can do what Nyheim Hines does, what Devin Singletary does, what James Cook does. I know that they drafted James Cook relatively high, but we've seen in years past that it really doesn't matter. If there's a better prospect, they're going to draft a better prospect. And that goes for everyone. Philadelphia with the second to last pick in this draft for me. I'm going Brandon Joseph. I think that the safety position could use a little bit of fine-tuning, and I think this is a guy who was considered a fringe first-round pick earlier in the year, is now in the middle rounds could still, honestly, you never know. What a good combine and good pro days, you never really know. But Brandon Joseph would be a really, really nice fit here at number 63 to really clean up that safety position for the Philadelphia Eagles. Then with the last pick, I don't know. I believe that this is actually the first pick in the third round, but if it is, I'll give it to you guys anyway. I'm going Derek Hall. I think that the Houston Texans just are completely dead when it comes to pass rushing. Jerry Hughes has been a really, really nice veteran pickup for them, but obviously he's not going to stay for much longer, and he's clearly fed up with being on the Houston Texans. So I'm going to go Derek Hall here, and that concludes my 2-round mock draft. I'll be doing some of these as the draft season goes on, not every single week. I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a fresh look. I know I usually just do 1 round, so 2 rounds proved to be very, very sweaty. I'm sweating pretty hard right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please like the video, please comment, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We got draft content coming all throughout the year. You already know what time it is. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.